Everybody, welcome back to another fun and exciting Algebra 1 class. Today we are going to be in chapter number 11, lesson number 6. Chapter 11, lesson 6. You can find that on page 425. And what we're going to be doing today is working on finding the LCD of a rational expression. Last class we added rational expressions and subtracted. When we had an LCD, here's the problem. A lot of times you're not going to have a common denominator. And so we need to find the common denominator and transfer all of our fractions to fractions with the LCD, just like we do in any math. Baby math, algebra, at the beginning when we were making fractions with LCDs. We've done this process before. Now it's a little bit different because we're using binomials and trinomials and we're factoring and doing different things, but the process is still the same. All right, let's look at the steps down here. Finding the LCD of rational expressions. Number one, we want to find we want to factor each denominator. Factor each of the denominators. What does that mean? Well, same thing that we've been doing in this whole lesson. Take the denominator, factor it out. You don't need to touch the numerator yet, okay? So don't touch the numerators, just factor the denominators. Number two, the LCD is the group of different factors contained in each denominator. Now that might sound a little ambiguous right now, but as we start working on these, you'll see what I mean by that. The LCD is the group of different factors contained in each denominator. Number three, make new fractions using the LCD by multiplying the numerators by the factors needed to make the new denominator, or the denominator with the LCD, the least common denominator. All right, lots of stuff going on there, some complicated steps, but let's try to uncomplicate this. Let's work through some and see how this all turns out. All right, here you go. Here's, and this is in your book on page number 426 right here. There's an example. We're going to do example 11.6b. 11.6b is x over 5y. And the other one, and I think in the book they put like a semicolon between these, but all this just means that they're two separate fractions. We're not adding them together yet. We're not multiplying them together. These are just two separate fractions, okay? So let's put that little dividing line in there for now, okay? Now, here's what we want to do. We want to find the LCD, the least common denominator. Okay, what is the LCD? Well, let's figure it out. What we do to find the LCD is we first start with the numbers. What is the least common denominator there between those two numbers? Well, if there's nothing common, and there's not, then we would take 3 times 5, and that's 15. Okay, now let's do the process real quick. Let me show you this process with just a regular fraction. So if I'm just adding 1/5 plus 2/3, how do we do that in math? Well, we find the LCD, which is 15, and most of you know that's 15. You can tell that's 15. You've done it enough to where you know how to get that. Basically, the idea is that you do multiples, 1 times 5 equals 5, 2 times 5 equals 10, 3 times 5 equals 15. And then you would do multiples of 3. 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 3 is 12, and then you get to 5 times 3 equals 15. When you get that matching one, you know, okay, that's my least common denominator right there. That's my LCM. And I guess for the most part, you're probably doing that process in your mind right now. You just kind of look at it and you can figure it out based on, well, we're doing the same thing right here. I don't want you to think that we're doing something different or weird, or it's just the same process, except for now we're adding letters to it. Now it's algebra instead of just regular math, okay? So let's go back up here. And let's talk about this again. So the LCD of 3 and 5 is 15, and I just showed you how to get that. Now, the LCD, least common, and this is an important letter here, the C is common. So we have a Y here, and we have an A times Y here. Notice that we have one common Y, okay? So we're going to take the Y one time. We don't need to take Y squared, we just need to take the Y one time. We only have one A, so we take the A one time, so it's AY. The least common denominator of this is 15AY. Okay? Now, let's go back up to the steps. Find each, factor each denominator. We kind of factored this, okay? The factors of 5 is 5 and 1, and then the factors of 3AY is 3A and Y. So we didn't have a lot of factoring to do there. So number 2, the LCD is the group of different factors contained in each one. So even though that's common, we count that one time. I said different factors, but we would count the common ones once. And so then we have an A that's different. And so these all go together over here to make the least common denominator. And we're going to practice that more. Okay, so don't think, I didn't understand that. Okay, don't worry. We're going to keep practicing it. And I think that you will understand it. Now what do? Now we go up to our final step, which is make new fractions using the LCD by multiplying the numerators by the factors needed to make the least common denominator. Okay, so what does that mean? We are going to make new fractions out of these two things. Our new fractions are going to have the denominator 15AY. Why? Why is it going to be 15AY? Because that's our LCD. That's our common. In other words, in the future, we're going to want to add these two things together. Next lesson, we're going to be adding these two together. Well, in order to add, you have to have an LCD, right? We've done this before. So we need to, right now, we need to just work on finding the LCD. Next lesson, we'll talk about how to add them together. Now, this is what I like to do personally. I like to take, for this one right here, I like to say, okay, what did I need to add to this? Or not add to this. What did I need to multiply to this to get that? Okay? And you say, okay, I needed to multiply a 3 to get that. 3 times 5 is 15. I needed to multiply an A to get that. A times nothing is A, or A times 1 is A. And then I didn't have to multiply the Y by anything. The Y was already up there. So I had to multiply 5 times 3 and Y times A to get my 15AY. Now, what do? Now you take the numerator and you multiply, because remember, if you multiply the denominator by something, you must also multiply the numerator by the same thing. So x times 3a equals 3ax. This is our new numerator, 3ax. We're going to do the same thing over here, and you say, what did I multiply by 3 to get 15? And that would be 5. And then what did I multiply by A to get A? Nothing. Didn't have to multiply. Y to get Y? Nothing. So it's just 4 times 5, and that gives us 20. So our new fractions would be 3ax over 15ay and 20 over 15ay. That process is there on page 326 if you want to follow that in your book. All right. All right, next one. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is we need to find our LCD. So what is the LCD? Well, I don't know. We got to find it out. So let's go back up to our steps. Factor each denominator. Okay, well, the denominators are not factored in this one. In the last one, they were. So that's where we're going to start. Let's factor this one. So we're going to get x, parenthesis. This is a quadratic. And we're going to get 6. We have 1 times 6, and we have 2 times 3. The 2 and the 3 are what we need because we need to get to a 5. So plus 2 plus 3. And then we would come over here to this side, and we do the same thing. Let's factor it. X plus x minus. Factor the 6 so that we get to a negative 1 there. And we're going to have to do the same thing right there. So we're going to have a positive 3, actually a negative 3, and a positive 2. All right, so there's our factoring of the denominators. So now what? Let's go back up there. The LCD is the group of different factors contained in each denominator. So let's go back and let's look for our LCD, okay? Well, here's our LCD. Notice we have a common x plus 2. We take the common ones one time. So x plus 2, that's part of our LCD. And then we have an x plus 3 and an x minus 3. X plus 3 and an x minus 3. Whoa, that's lots of LCD right there. Yeah, it is. Okay, but that's fine. That's our LCD. Okay, so we factor it, and then we take each one of them unless there's a double, unless there's a copy over in the other one. If there's a copy, we only take one of the copy. Okay, there's a copy, x plus 2 here and x plus 2 here, so we're only going to take one of those x plus 2s. Don't put both x plus 2s up there. We don't need them both. All right, so let's go ahead and now go to the next step, which is to make our fractions. So go back up here, and step number 3, make new fractions using the LCD by multiplying the numerators by the factors needed to make the new denominator. All right, so what is our new denominator? Well, it's this guy right here. So this one is going to be x plus 2, x plus 3, x minus 3. All right, so there's that denominator. And there's this denominator. It's the same thing. X plus 2, x plus 3, x minus 3. I'm going to do something that's going to help you out right here. I'm going to get rid of the original thing that we had, and I'm going to put the factored one here, and I'm going to make it so that you can see it. I'll do this, and I'll come right back. All right, I did that so I didn't want you to get confused. So here's what I did. I basically just changed out the polynomial, the trinomial, for the factored form. And that's going to make it easier for you to see because it's the same thing, it's just factored. All I did was factored that denominator. Now, here's the question, and this is what we did just a minute ago. I have to multiply by something to get that denominator. What do I have to multiply by? Look, we have an x plus 2 and an x plus 2. We have an x plus 3 and an x plus 3. So what did we multiply by to get the new least common denominator? Well, we multiplied by x minus 3. X minus 3. Okay? That's the only thing that's different down here in this denominator. So what do? You take the numerator times x plus 3. You can write it like this: x times x minus 3, x minus 3. You don't have to multiply. You don't have to distribute it right now. It'll be easier for you if you don't right now. So just leave it in factored form. Don't distribute it. Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here. What did we multiply by to get this? Well, we have an x plus 2 and an x plus 2. We have an x minus 3 and an x minus 3. So we multiplied by the x plus 3. X plus 3. Okay? So we do the same thing. So we'd write 3 times x plus 3. And these would be our new fractions. These are our new fractions with our LCD. Okay? X times x minus 3 over x plus 2, x plus 3, x minus 3. And then these are just separate. In the next lesson, we're going to be adding these. We're not adding right now. We're just doing two separate fractions, getting them to the LCD. Okay? All right, next one. Let's try one more. All right, so here we go. Let's go back to our steps again. Factor each denominator. So let's go back to these denominators. We don't have to touch the numerators, but we do want to factor the denominators. Look, that one's already factored, and that's already factored. We can't do anything with those two, so we're going to leave those alone. This one is the difference of two squares. Look, that's a square, that's a square, that's a difference. So difference of two squares gives us y plus 1, y minus 1. All right, now what I like to do here, for your sake right now, is I'm going to erase the original one. Now, I'm going to put the factored form. You know that these are the same things, right? Please tell me that you know that those are the same thing, okay? This equals this. It's just writing it in a different format. That's like saying 12 equals 3 times 4. It's the same thing. Look, 12 and 3 times 4, 12. So they're the same thing. So when we factor something, it means the same thing. So here's what I'm wanting to do. I'm wanting to erase this and put it as the fraction. Why do I want to do that? Because I want to write it in the fully factored form. So I'm going to write y plus 1, y minus 1 right here. Okay? And I'll erase this, and then now we have everything fully factored. All the denominators are fully factored. Okay? So let's go back up here to our next step. The LCD is the group of different factors contained in each denominator. So let's look at these different factors that are here. So what is our, I'll write the LCD right here, LCD. What is our LCD? Look, there's a y plus 1, and we have a y plus 1 over there. We only need to write y plus 1 once, y plus 1. We have a y minus 1, and we have a y minus 1. So we write that one once, y minus 1. Okay, we only write the pairs one time. All right, so there we go. That is our LCD. A little bit simpler than the last one. Okay, now the question here is, well, let's go back up here. Step number 3. Make new fractions using the LCD by multiplying the numerators by the factors needed to make the new denominator. All right, so we're making new fractions with our LCD. This is our LCD, so this is going to be our new fraction. Y plus 1, y minus 1. Y plus 1, y minus 1. And the last one also y plus 1, y minus 1. Okay, those are our new denominators, our LCDs. How do we do our numerators now? Well, we go to this and we say, okay, what did I have to multiply by to get that? And here's the great thing. We didn't multiply by anything, okay? So this numerator just comes down, y squared, because we didn't multiply by anything to get it. This one was already in the LCD form. Perfect. Well, here's another one. Y plus 1 times what? Well, y plus 1 and y plus 1 match. So what's extra here is the y minus 1. So we multiplied by y minus 1. Now we need to do the numerator by the same thing, y times y minus 1. And we would do the same thing here with our last one, y minus 1. Well, that matches right there. And so what did we multiply by? The y plus 1. Y plus 1. So we multiply the 3 times y plus 1, and we get 3 times y plus 1. There we go. And so there are our 3 new fractions. Let me get rid of some of these arrows so you can see them a little bit better. All right, there you go. And remember, these are just separate fractions. Next lesson, we're going to combine them, we're going to add them, but for right now, we're just making new fractions. Now, you got to remember something. We didn't change the value of these. You say, oh, yes, you did. You changed the value. No, I didn't. I want you to see something. Y over y plus 1. Let's look at that. What do I have down here? Y, look, Mr. Steve, it's different. No, it's not. Because look what I can do. I could cancel and cancel, because those are the same. And look what I'm left with, y plus 1. Look what I had up here, y plus 1. It's the same fraction, okay? We're just writing it with an LCD. Look at this one. So I had y plus 1 up here. Well, look what I can do here is or y minus 1, 3 over y minus 1. So what I can do is I can cancel the y plus 1s, and then I'm left with 3 over y minus 1. Same thing. They're the same fractions. All we're doing is making them with a common denominator so that we will be able to add them in the next lesson. Okay? All right, well, that's all I got for you. Hopefully you were able to learn some of that stuff there. If you missed anything, make sure you slide that back. Take another look at it so that you can get these right on your quizzes and tests that are coming up. All right, we'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.